Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene. I'm Chris Lincoln, along with the coach, Gail Cloud, our Hall of Fame athletic director of the Tulsa Public Schools. Coach, it's our fifth Monday of the month, and usually when we have a fifth Monday, we use it as a kind of a highlight and a recap type show.
And I tell you what, there's been a lot of things that have gone down in July, and with all the conference meetings coming up, and of course we're wrapping up into the middle and past baseball season now, and some of the pennant races are starting to feather out a little bit. So I think our fans will really enjoy this show.
We have some neat college football kind of preseason news for you, too. At the Big 12 football meetings, Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner, is going to talk about the state of the Big 12 conference. We'll have the chairman of the officials Big 12 rules committee. He's going to be visiting on new college football rules. And we have some other special things coming up, including talk about the high school dates as well around Oklahoma. First, Coach, though, big celebration. This is a very special year in college football. The 150th anniversary of college football, starting in 1869. And Coach, you and I, where were you for the 100th anniversary in 1969?
I was the head football coach at Sedan High School in Sedan, Kansas, and I remember vividly the National Federation sent out the 100 stickers to put all of our helmets.
Yeah.
Everybody had to really recognize that, and until you mentioned this the other day, I had not realized 150 years, because this will be my 50th year in the business.
That's right. Well, I remember those 100-year decals on our Missouri football helmets as well, too.
Yep.
So that was 1969, and now here we are 50 years later, but the 150th anniversary of college football. And ESPN, as you can imagine, is getting all geared up with a lot of special programs, a lot of great series they do with inside stories and great profiles of different athletes, different teams and stuff. And they put a promo together we thought you might enjoy. Let's look at the promo from ESPN as they get ready to celebrate college football's 150th season.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
Going to any college football game, it's like stepping into Americana.
Everything from the bands to the cheerleaders to the announcers.
The colors, the intensity, the grand traditions that have been passed down through our country's history.
It's uniquely American, this game.
For the first 50 years, there was no other football. It was created by college students for college students.
In the South, every single football game against a northern team was seen as a recasting of the Civil War.
For so long, it was sort of this all-white bastion of masculinity.
If you can play, you can play. Once we had the opportunity, the rest is history.
Fires to the end zone, touchdown!
College football's a clash, not just of teams, but of cultures, identities.
Rivals who hate each other.
You're just standing there, now they're fighting.
You talk about respect. There's only one way you get respect, and that's by looking somebody in the eye for 60 minutes and say, hey, baby, here I am now. Let me see you run through me now.
That passion separates college football from every other sport in the United States.
I'm not sure passion's a strong enough word.
I don't believe it!
We got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives!
Let's pour it on them. Pour it on them and don't let them up.
Let's go!
Ball's up in the air! Caught!
There goes Davis! He's all the way home!
We play as a team. We'll be walking out of here as a national champion.
Team.
Wow, Coach, that should get you ready for college football.
I'll tell you, if you can't get ready for this year with 150 years,
wow.
And boy, Chris, how has it changed?
Oh, man.
How's it changed the last 25 years?
Exactly, sure.
I mean, it's amazing, but you think 50 years ago, I can remember one thing for sure. As a head football coach in high school, I paid $19.95 for a helmet. Unbelievable.
What do helmets cost now, Coach?
About $300.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I remember, too, is on Saturdays, you got one college football game,
exactly.
Right? That was it.
You know, we would work. What we would do after my first year, I went over to Coffeyville and coached with Coach Eckert, and we would work from 6 in the morning till noon, on our next week's game and everything, get ready, because we wanted to be off at 1:30 for that one game that was going to be on. That was it.
And of course, nowadays you can look at 30, 40 football games on a weekend. It's unbelievable. All ESPN, Fox, all the networks, all the different platforms. It's been great for college football and great certainly for the athletic departments and all the money. TV again driving sports.
The television is the controlling factor with the NCAA. That's why they have a vice president for football and a vice president for baseball. Television.
Wow.
That's all they do is the TV part of that. Basketball's the same way, because that is such a revenue producing thing for those institutions, and they couldn't do what they wanted to do with the money that they would generate anything outside of their local. The TV money drives it. The conferences all brag about how much TV money they get. That's the key. I mean, that is the key.
Well, let's take a look as we move into August now at the college football kickoff dates for our Big Four schools. Starts on August 30th, a Friday night, with two of our schools playing. The University of Tulsa on the road at Michigan State, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys the same night, going to be playing out west at Oregon State.
That'd be interesting. Two OSUs, two orange and blacks playing. That'll be really interesting. It's a tough deal, I think, for the University of Tulsa to play Michigan State.
Big check, though.
No, it's a payday.
Yeah.
There's no question about being a payday. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to get banged up. You don't want to get hurt.
Right.
You don't want to have your season go away and lose your quarterback in the first week of the season and everything, but you got to have that guarantee to be able to make it through the year.
And it's a great Friday night for all you football fans, by the way, because the TU Michigan State game is on FS1 at 6 p.m. Then the Cowboys come on against Oregon State at 9:30 p.m. also on FS1. So just sit back, relax, have a great time.
Fantastic.
Saturday, August 31st, one of our Big Four teams playing on the second big weekend of college football. The season actually kicks off on the 24th. The Portland State at Arkansas, 3 p.m. on SEC TV. And that is a money game for Portland State, hopefully.
Pretty important, too, for Arkansas to start out well.
Yeah.
They had a tough year last year, and even though it's early on in the coach's phase over there, Coach Morse, I think the pressure is going to be on in Arkansas.
You cannot lose to Portland State.
No.
Then on Sunday, September 1st, it's all OU show. The Sooners have the only college football game on the network, primetime ABC National, as they will take on the Houston Cougars, 6:30 p.m. on ABC and down in Norman on September the 1st.
And the return to Norman of Dana Holgorsen.
That's right. West Virginia coach comes in with the Houston Cougars.
Very interesting. The offenses that he devised at West Virginia and Oklahoma State against the Sooners, he knows what he can do against them, and that should be a heck of a opening game for both teams.
And Houston's got a great quarterback, and OU thinks they have. Jalen Hurts proved it at Alabama, 23-2 there. Be his debut as the Sooner quarterback. He already is, I think, either number 3 or 4 in the Heisman race, I see as well. And the Sooners were somewhere in the top 5 of most of the polls already in the preseason. Coach, talk about high school football now and some very important dates coming up, and kind of fill us in on that starting August 12th, open date for limited practice, right?
You bet. We can start limited practice the first 4 days, just helmets, no pads, and that's for conditioning to get the players in shape and get them ready to go. And then after that, on that Friday is the first full pad day. And then the following Thursday and Friday will be the opening for live scrimmages interscholastic against other schools. And then the following week is either a second scrimmage date or a 0 week.
Right.
And we'll be playing the All-City Preview the 22nd and 23rd. This will be the 77th.
Wow.
Grady Skiller in All-City Preview, and it promises to be very competitive again. And it's the high school season. It seems like it gets on so quick, and it's over so quick.
Yeah.
It's 10 weeks and that's it. And we talked earlier about the 0 week, and what the 0 week basically is that it gives you the opportunity to have 11 weeks to schedule 10 games. There's a lot of schools that are on the border that don't have the same opportunity to schedule people within the state of Oklahoma that us in the center of the state do.
Sure. Yeah.
So consequently, that extra week gives them time where they can go and find a place to play that week, or have an open date that week and then go and play the next week.
Real quickly on our recap show, just kind of catch you up with the Tulsa Roughnecks. They start August with 3 straight road matches. They'll finally come home on August the 28th and August 31st. The Drillers update, they're on the road for the rest of the month of July. Then they come home, return home August with a 7-game homestand, August 1st to the 4th, Northwest Arkansas, and then August 5th through 7th with Springfield. Next, the state of the Big 12. The Big 12 Commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, straight ahead on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers. Cheers.
All right, y'all, how's everything tasting?
That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
TU fans, football season is here, and the Golden Hurricane has one of the best home schedules in school history. Season tickets are on sale now, or purchase our 3-game mini plan. The plan includes in-state rival Oklahoma State, along with Navy on Military Appreciation Game, and 2-time defending league champion UCF, all for only $90. To get your tickets, call 918-631-GO-TU or visit TulsaHurricane.com/tickets.
We're back on Oklahoma Sports Scene here at the Bricktown Brewery Restaurant in South Peoria in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's our highlight recap show on our 5th Monday of the month as we finish up the month of July. Of course, the month, middle of the month started with the Big 12 Football Media Days down at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, where Bob Bowlesby, the Commissioner of the Big 12, gave his State of the Conference address. Here are some of the highlights.
In addition to setting the record for attendance at a conference championship game, our basketball tournament was the best attended in our history and also among all of the major conferences last year. We captured 4 national championships, Baylor's women's basketball, of course, Oklahoma's women's gymnastics, UT's men's tennis program, and Texas Tech's men's outdoor track program. So we had a great year. We had 4 other schools that competed in the finals of their sport and were runners-up. Literally hundreds of individual coaching and student athlete awards over the course of the year, including our 2nd Heisman Trophy in a row with Kyler Murray. And then more recently, just to single out one, how about Matthew Wolf graduating from Oklahoma State, being the National Player of the Year, and already getting his first tour victory on the PGA Tour after less than a month. That's great fun. You love to see young people succeed like that. Financially, we had a great year. We distributed $38.8 million. It's a 6% increase from previous years. When you include the member participation subsidy, which I think most of you are aware varies from institution to institution, they vary from about $1.1 million this last year to almost $4 million. The distributions for some of our schools are clearly over $40 million, and that's plus their 3rd tier activity. And so, as you know, that range is from about $1 million a school to something between $15 to $20 million at the University of Texas. Of that money that we took in, we distributed about 93%. So we took about 7% for conference overhead to run our championships and to do the things we do. A big chunk of that obviously was legal fees, but we are an efficient organization. I think 93% is the highest percentage of distribution in all of college athletics, so we feel good about that. Our distribution has gone up 55% in the last 5 years, so we continue on the right kind of trend. Relative to football, I would just reiterate that we're still the only one playing a full round robin. We play 9 conference games and 1 required autonomy FBS opponent. Last year we were 4-3 in the postseason. We've been 13-8 over the last 3 seasons and have a winning record against every one of the autonomy conferences that we played. One particular statistic I would like you all to make note of. I want to see pencils moving and fingers tapping on this. Last year of our 7 bowl games, 6 of the 7 opponents were held below their season averages offensively by Big 12 defenses. 6 of 7 offenses were held below their season average by Big 12 defenses. Contrary to popular belief, there are some kids that tackle in the Big 12. Thank you for noting that. Half of our games last year were decided by 8 or fewer points. That's a great thing. I think it's part of the reason why the attendance trend has largely avoided us. I think playing everybody every year allows for good traditions, and I think having teams that are very competitive makes for people that want to go to the stadium. If you're coming into this league, as 4 new people are this year, it's a daunting task to try and find wins. These 4 new coaches are all excellent, veteran, seasoned coaches. But not surprisingly, their teams are picked 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in our league this year. Les Miles and Chris Kleiman have both won national championships. Both are extraordinarily talented veteran head coaches. Matt Wells at Texas Tech has honed his craft at other institutions and had great teams at Utah State, is a terrific fit at Texas Tech. And Neil Brown is somebody that I've been advised to keep an eye on for a number of years. He's one of the really outstanding up-and-coming young coaches. I don't envy the task that any of the 4 of them have. They all have to come in and build programs. They all have lots of work to do, and they all have the vision right in the front of their consciousness that there aren't a lot of days off in the Big 12. Every week during the season is going to be a brutal contest, and it's a zero-sum game. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, and they are all people that have had great success, and I wish them all well and welcome them here. But the task they have is not easy. The top of our league is really good. We have 10 terrific coaches. We're going to have some great games. Particularly of interest for us is the changing environment in how people are consuming their sports. It isn't just about television. It's about live attendance as well. There are some troubling signs, and the 2 are actually related. We are competing in some measure against the very high quality television product that we have helped to develop. And as all of us are finding out, mobile consumption is getting larger and larger with each passing year. Digital delivery and a wide variety of evolving platforms are right on top of us, and anybody that tells you they know what the future looks like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I think is delusional, because the technology is changing so rapidly. What I can tell you is we're not going to see an environment where cable television is going to have more subscribers. It just doesn't seem possible that is likely. I don't think it's ever going away. I think it continues to be the manner in which most Americans receive their sports viewing. But the migration is extraordinary, and the past year our conference has been very much involved with our partners at ESPN to dramatically move forward in the area of how we deliver our product to our fans. The new digital network that the Big 12 will have will be called Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus. I know that Nick Dawson from ESPN is here. I don't know exactly where he is, but Nick is on site, and he deserves a lot of credit for the new venture that we have. Big 12 Now will be combined with our first tier inventory, which is on Fox and ESPN. ESPN will the ESPN Plus app and Big 12 Now will be available on Apple TV, on Android devices, on Roku, on Chromecast. It's available on Fire TV, on Xbox One. It's available on PlayStation 4, Oculus Go, and all new Samsung TVs, among a wide array of other places you can get it. So whether it's your mobile device, your iPad, your Android, or some manner of consumption you have with your home 80-inch TV, this is going to be omnipresent. It's available 24/7, 365 worldwide. And it doesn't diminish our reliance on ESPN and Fox as our partners with our Tier 1 consumption, but all of our sports will be available on ESPN Plus on Big 12 Now at one time or another. There's a Big 12 landing page that is menu-driven, very easy to use, and when it's fully functional and operational, ESPN Plus and Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus will be carrying over 800 Big 12 events. Fox will continue to have some selection opportunities on some of our Olympic sports and some of our women's basketball sports, but as I say, 24/7, 365 worldwide. And unlike my early days with the Big Ten Network and my early days with the Pac-12 Network, we had the first year of the Big Ten Network, you couldn't get Ohio State football in Central Ohio. And believe me, there were a few angry people when they called and said, we can't get this and you need to fix our problem. And the answer was, we can't fix your problem. You need to talk to your cable carrier. This technology is up and running. It's easy to subscribe to, and it's cutting edge. It is very much anticipatory of what tomorrow's technology environment is going to look like. So we are very excited about it. We're on the right side of technology, and ironically, we're here in AT&T Stadium, and AT&T is one that they've recently made a $100 billion investment in Time Warner. And the essence of their strategy is aggregation of assets and delivery by streaming. That really is their bet. So it's a little bit ironic that we're here in a building that bears the AT&T name, because they're going to be, as much as they're huge in the cable distribution, they're going to be even bigger in the days ahead in digital distribution. Obviously, cable is not going to go away. It's going to continue to be a huge part of our strategy, but we are on the right side of technology. We have the right partners, and the future on this is very exciting. I couldn't be more enthusiastic, and to tell you the truth, it's one of the things that I spend a lot of time on, and it's one of the things that I enjoy most, because it is so fascinating and it is changing so rapidly.
Boy, Chris, it looks like we're going to have a lot of new faces in the Big 12 with 4 new head coaches: Kansas, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and West Virginia.
Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12, addressed that during the Big 12 Media Days. He visited with Fox Sports' Leslie McCaslin and with Gary Reasons.
Well, I do think that, you don't replace a guy like Bill Snyder right away. But Chris Kleiman at Kansas State, I signed him to his national letter of intent when he came to Northern Iowa. And so I'm excited about him. I've known him since he was 15 years old. Neil Brown has a great reputation, and I've heard from lots of good football players and good football people that he's been an up-and-comer for a number of years. Obviously, Les Miles is is a veteran and brings a lot to the table for not only Kansas but for the rest of our coaches and the rest of our teams. And you know, it's Matt Wells is he's a veteran, and you know, we didn't bring in any coordinators, we didn't bring any people that had been assistant coaches. These are guys that are all veteran coaches, and like Matt Campbell at Iowa State, they've coached a lot of games, and they bring that experience to the table. Now, having said that, their new guys are picked 7, 8, 9, and 10, and there's a reason, because it's hard to win games in our league. Yes. And they'll bring a lot of energy, a lot of innovation, and they'll bring a lot of experience. But on Saturday, when everybody plays everybody, it's hard to find wins.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Chris, the Big 12 is a hard place to find wins. I thought it was interesting. I saw Gundy yesterday on a clip of one of his interviews, and he says, you know, what he respects out of Knowles, his defensive coordinator for the second year, he said, at least he knows everybody in the Big 12 wants to score points. Well, that's pretty good for a defensive coordinator to know that. You know,
for sure. Interesting, as Commissioner Bosley pointed out, the 4 new coaches' teams are picked 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in the Big 12 Conference. As you look at this, Coach, who do you think might have the best opportunity, those 4 new head coaches? I mean, it's...
Well, yeah, Les Miles is so experienced.
Yeah.
You know, he's been at the biggest stage you can be. LSU is about as big as it gets, and did a great job at OSU, has a basic knowledge, but the Big 12 changed a lot. Offensively, the Big 12 changed a lot. Gary Kleiman at K-State, one of my former coaches, is his offensive coordinator. Courtney Mussingham was our head coach at Upper Iowa University. I hired Courtney off of the Southern Miss staff. They're going to have an adjustment, but they're used to winning.
Right.
They were at North Dakota State, and they won 4 national championships in 5 years. So they bring an attitude in there. You know, I don't know much about the guy at Texas Tech or West Virginia. So just off the top, I'd say that probably Lee has a great chance.
Yeah.
Les Miles, has a great chance. Right. And then Kleiman, I think, may have a chance too.
Following a legend, though, Bill Snyder, that's always tough.
You know, we saw it at Alabama. We've seen it at Oklahoma. We've seen it at Ohio State. Everywhere where the guy has been the guy, the next 2 or 3 guys don't do as well. I mean, you know, it is amazing how the expectation really exceeds the talent, and that's what happens every time.
Well, every year it's college football. We have a tweak of the rules, a few rule changes, a few modifications. We're going to hear all about that from the Big 12 Football Media Days with Greg Burks. He is the Big 12 Coordinator of Officials. That's straight ahead on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The service is amazing.
Food's delicious.
I love the avocado fries.
I love the energy.
Local beer, great food, truly friendly service.
Look all right for you?
Bricktown Brewery, come and get it.
Man, look, for us, Cowboy football is way more than just Cowboy football. This is who we are. We come to Boone Pickens Stadium as many, but in this sea of orange, we stand as one. And we all know what it looks like. The crowd roaring, arms waving, and bullet flying. It's the paddles popping, the shotgun firing, and the fans rocking. It's our passion, our heart, our family, and our team. Because at Oklahoma State, it's who we are.
Each week we talk about the GTR, and we know for a fact that Forrest Cameron and his wife Sharon put out a tremendous paper. Well, I brought all 6 of them today. I'd like for you to see them. The Union Boundary, and here is the Owasso Rambler. And if you live in Bixby, how about the Bixby Breeze or Broken Arrow, the Broken Arrow Express, Jinx, District Gazette, and then of course the Tulsa Midtown. All of those, the GTR. If you haven't had an opportunity to read one, do it, and you'll be proud of it.
Another big part of Big 12 football media days is the chance for us to hear more about the new college football rules, new rules as well as some modifications. And for that, they called on their Big 12 coordinator of officials, Greg Burks. He sat down with C.T. Steckles of Fox Sports. Here are some of the new rules you'll be looking for in the season upcoming.
We are taking every aspect of targeting and review it anew from the booth. The history of targeting is that we encourage the officials to throw on targeting if they thought there was targeting. The problem with that is that the way the rule is written in targeting is that if it was 50-50 or you didn't have video that clearly showed it was targeting, we went with the stands call on the field. This year we're going to re-evaluate from anew from the replay booth, and that means that all aspects of the targeting must be there for it to be targeting. So if we look at the stats from last year, about 15% of those targeting fouls were stands. Those will probably go away. And I think it's addressing the issue of let's make sure if we're going to disqualify a player, we do want to make sure the game's safe, but we want to make sure that all aspects of the foul are there.
So the game is played fast. I mean, it is a hard job for the officials on the field to actually get the right call every single time. Is this, in a sense, just making sure that we're kind of bulletproof more in the sense that the replay official upstairs decides if a young man is going to actually exit a football game?
That's exactly right. Taking a player off the field is a big penalty. It's a different deal if you were to play 160 baseball games and you get ejected. But when your season is 12 games, that's a big penalty when you have that foul in the opening minutes of a game and you miss the entire game, or second half, first half the next game. So we just want to make sure that all the aspects are there and that it shows up on the film. And that just means that we re-officiate that play from the beginning, and I think it'll be a more equitable situation this year.
I think we can all agree that that is a good decision there. All right, let's talk some overtime rules changes. There's a little game in College Station between A&M and LSU. I don't think any of us will ever forget that one. So as it stands now, in the first OT periods, there's absolutely no changes, and then what happens after that?
That's right. Because of a seven-period overtime, I can't tell you exactly how many plays happened in that game, but the question was the offenses couldn't get stopped.
Yeah, fatigue.
You just can't play. And we want to protect the players in that situation. So we're just saying that we're going to try and change the overtime. Now, let's be clear that most of the overtime games that we play are just 1 or 2 overtimes, maybe 3. You have to go for you can no longer go for a field goal after third. What we're saying is after the fourth is that we're going to a 2-point try at that spot instead of starting at the 25. We'll go right to the try position, and you have to go for 2. And that should eliminate a lot of the I'm reluctant to say plays because the 7-period overtime is an aberration. It just doesn't happen very often. But if it were to happen again, this would address that situation.
And that leads me to a question that a lot of fans ask me as we travel around covering college football. Pace of play. I think it's actually improving and getting a little faster, but yet from maybe the viewership at home and the players and the fans in the stands, I'm not sure they feel that. Where is pace of play? How big of a priority is that?
I think pace of play has improved. In the Big 12 last year, we averaged 2 hours, 23 minutes to 2 hours and 28 minutes. And there's a variety of things that happen in that time frame. We averaged 2.2, 2.3 stops per game, and our average length of stop was 1.5 minutes. So we're talking about replay somewhere around 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes a game, and all the aspects that it's addressed and made the game better. I don't think anybody would argue that we're better at pace of play. You do have to remember in the Big 12 the number of plays that we have.
True.
Some of that deals with incomplete passes, and I know the Rules Committee is looking at maybe winding the clock on incomplete passes like the NFL does. That could address a few things. But I think in general, everybody feels college football is in a really good place, and we don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. If you want to see 60 and 70 points scored, you're going to have some time in between plays and kicking the ball off and PATs. Okay, let's talk about a few of the rules that have come into effect. Talk to me about wedge blocking. I really think it's an aspect of the game that all of us who like the old school football, who grew up with it, we all remember it on kickoff returns. But talk to me through what has changed specifically when the free kick and the illegal wedge formation now is in play.
The biggest thing is that a 3-man wedge has been illegal for some time now. And all we did was take the wording from a 3-man and apply it to a 2-man. Most teams ran some variation of a 2-man wedge. And the injuries that occurred on free kicks have come down significantly, but those injuries that did occurred on somebody trying to break up that wedge. And so we're simply just trying to end a two-man wedge.
Makes perfect sense. All right, last question I have for you then. Let's talk about the blindside block. My teenagers in my house love living on YouTube, and everybody wants to watch these plays when they come, but they are dangerous. How are we trying to eliminate it?
The reason you're going to make that block ultimately is to free the runner. You can do that in a lot of ways without decleating somebody. And we're just trying to get those situations eliminated so that player that gets blocked can play the following week. There were some vicious hits last year that were legal because it was below the shoulders. Had it been above the shoulders, it would have been targeting. All we've done is just say you can make that block without punishing someone and allowing them to play next week. And so a blindside block is still legal. It's just not legal to attack and with force take somebody off their feet.
That was Greg Burks, the coordinator of officials for the Big 12, talking about some of the rule changes and modifications. Coach, they spent a lot of time talking about targeting. I'd like to see whether they're tweaking that a little bit. That's a pretty harsh penalty for a kid.
Well, the targeting, obviously the impetus for targeting is the health and safety of the players. There's no question about that. Concussion has become a major part of the game. There's no question about that. Where we are now, though, is that we're putting an official in a position in a split second to determine, and then we would go to the camera, and sometimes the ruling would be against the hitter.
No.
And he had no reason, he didn't do it on purpose.
Sure.
He just ended up where his body was in that position. It kind of reminds me of the old clipping rule that they had when the wishbone was so big. They would tell them that when that guy arc block out on the cornerback, if you didn't see the block from inception, don't call clipping, because what would happen, we'd come out and we'd try to arc block on the cornerback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, he'd take a step back, and the official would look, and now I'm down on his knees.
Sure.
Oh, clipping. Well, you didn't see it from inception. So
and a lot of time that targeting is just the other guy dropped his head at the last moment or something.
Exactly.
And, tough rule. Well, we've got a really special feature coming up for you next on Oklahoma Sports Scene, the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. Going to show you all about it, and you're going to really enjoy this video coming up. Stay with us.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Cheers.
All right, y'all, how's everything tasting? That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
One of our real treasures in the state of Oklahoma is our Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. now located at the Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City. They're about to induct their next class here on August the 12th at the Wind River Casino in Norman. Coach, a class of 7 and some outstanding individuals going in the Hall of Fame.
Some great names. Will Shields, a Lawton boy who went to Nebraska and made a name for himself in the National Football League. Patty Gasso, of course, obviously the preeminent softball coach in the state and in the nation. And a friend of ours, Lou Henson, longtime coach at Illinois and New Mexico State, the only Division I coach to have his name on 2 courts, at Las Cruces and at Illinois.
Champaign.
You bet.
Wow. Of course, you got baseball. Called baseball stars are going in as well. Mike Moore and Mickey Tettleton. Without doubt, the headliner, Bob Stoops.
Bob Stoops, no question. Well-deserved, and the things that he did during his tenure at Oklahoma will be hard to meet.
Olympic wrestling gold medalist Kendall Cross also in this class. Outstanding class going in for the inductions on August the 12th, Riverwinds Casino down in Norman. Right now, the Hall of Fame, though, we had a chance to see their special video they debuted, and we think you'll be amazed, enjoy, and take pride in the great sports legacy of the state of Oklahoma.
The crack of a bat, the smell of the turf, fresh chalk lines under the Friday night lights, the hush of the crowd as 2 competitors face off on the mat. The whistle blows, the crowd cheers. So many memories wash over us as we think about sports and the place in our hearts where our sports heroes live.
Allie Reynolds, I thought, was such a great pitcher, and I always wanted his number, 22.
Well, my dad, his dream was to play in the major leagues as a catcher.
I was named after Mickey Mantle.
You see a guy named Mickey Mantle from Oklahoma playing on the New York Yankees, and you say, that guy's a teenager and playing with the Yankees. That's impressive.
And Oklahoma has more than its share of superstar athletes, men and women who have stepped up from the red dirt playing fields of Oklahoma to become champions on the world stage.
I mean, guys like Mickey Mantle and Terry and Bud Wilkinson and all those guys, they were just my heroes from the time I was in junior high.
One of my earliest memories of somebody I really looked up to, probably Wayne Wells, won the 1972 Olympics.
I didn't have to look too far. My idols were my brothers, Leroy and John Smith.
You had Campanella and the Dodgers, and you had the Yankees and Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle, and I couldn't wait to watch them every day.
I mean, I think we all want to not only celebrate these heroes, but I think in a lot of ways, it's a validation that hard work and sacrifice mean something. And in fact, the best asset that the Hall of Fame has are these stories.
Since 1986, this Hall of Fame has been recognizing athletes that have made an indelible mark upon the Oklahoma sports landscape. Oklahomans by birth and Oklahomans by adoption. With the list of accomplished nominees continuing to grow each and every year, this is truly Oklahoma's Sports Hall of Fame.
This is where many of the stories come alive. The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame is home to the stories of Oklahoma's sports greats, a collection of Oklahoma-made inspiration.
Played on 7 pennant winners with the Yankees and got to play with some great players, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, several Hall of Famers.
It didn't happen right away, and it took a big load off of my shoulders. I finally did what he had been saying I could do, and the fans kind of, the New York fans are great, but they can be pretty mean. And I was only 19 years old, and I even called my dad and told him, I said, I don't think I can play ball,
Moral is there's a thin line, a lot of times between winning and losing.
And according to these Oklahoma legends, the thin line that makes a difference is hard work.
I played for my dad for 4 years. I started as a freshman. He'd always tell us, don't let anybody ever outwork you.
Like Coach Switzer said, you come to Oklahoma and we're going to make you a #1 draft choice. You're going to be an All-American. You're going to win championships.
And I am fortunate enough to say that we won 2 national championships, lost only 2 games my whole career, and I played for the illustrious Barry Switzer.
The stories we cherish are their memories.
Well, yeah, I remember my first win. It was at Pittsburgh. We went up Three Rivers Stadium. It doesn't exist anymore. We played Pittsburgh there. we better beat them pretty good.
When that referee blows that whistle and you step across that mat and shake that guy's hand, you're just not going to let him beat you.
And Yutaki, that is quite an honor in itself for me to be inducted right next to Yujiri Yutaki, who is two-time Olympic gold medal and considered one of the top 2 in the world.
Well, one thing I know is I love to wrestle.
The stories behind their glory amaze us all. And even our sports heroes are not immune to the overwhelming thrill when their accomplishments are thrust into the spotlight.
I mean, I participated in world championship teams. I played on with some of the greatest players in the history of baseball. Well, the greatest team maybe in baseball. When I look back, I don't think it's possible. I mean, I really look back and said, I really do all that. Did it really happen?
You know, when you stand up there, it's almost overwhelming because you, I'm sorry, but it's over 30 years ago. But you hear the national anthem, and it's being played for you, and you know people are singing it at home and thinking about it. It's pretty profound. And at that point, it's an overwhelming sensation that how lucky am I to get to stand up here.
And all those people back in Bangor and Caddo County that believed in me, that opened up the paper every day and wanted to see what Johnny Bench did. And the fact that when we won, they all won. That was the best part of it.
Oklahoma mentors have molded many of our star athletes.
Coach Wilkinson was hands down the best coach I was ever around. If they don't score, they don't win. His goal was to go out and beat people 40-0. Not 40-7, 40-0.
When I was 6 years old, I went to Gallagher Hall up in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and watched my brother Leroy wrestle for the first time for Oklahoma State. And from that day on, that was a dream of mine, was to wrestle at Oklahoma State.
Most wonderful thing that ever happened to me was to be able to play and participate at the levels I played in at OU. Those guys have been my lifelong friends.
Little Joe Washington probably excited more people, more fans that ever watched an OU football game than any other player.
I went to San Diego, which was one of my childhood dreams, to play for them because, not of the team, but the great uniforms, lightning bolts on the helmet, lightning bolts on the pants, powder blue.
The little Joe would smoke through a keyhole.
Before the game and during the, right before I got into the game, you could hear this. How could they make this trade for Joe Washington? Lydell Mitchell has done everything for the Baltimore Colts. He's led them in receiving and rushing for the past 4 years. Joe Washington was a great player in college, but he's done absolutely nothing in the pros. So the fact that Howard put his good housekeeping seal of approval on me at the end by saying, I told you one of the greatest players of all time, hey, that was changing right there.
One visit to the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame will not only inspire, but the number and caliber of this state's athletes may also surprise you.
I grew up in Oklahoma, and most of the people in here, the closest I ever thought I'd get to any of these was having their baseball card in my bike spokes.
Of this state, to produce the number of athletes this state has in all sports is unbelievable. The talent that has come from this state, it's exceptional.
Those guys in that hall push that talent to the limit.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame is one of the top 5 sports museums in the country. You know, everything from the world's greatest athlete, Jim Thorpe, to people like Mickey Mantle and Ralph Terry in baseball and Johnny Bench.
And then gymnastics with Shannon Miller. And it's on and on and on. And not only do we have great athletes, Barry Sanders in football, Troy Aikman in football, we've just got such a rich tradition in the sport in Oklahoma.
And until you come in the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, you don't realize how darn many people have excelled in all kinds of sports.
Well, I think that, interestingly enough,
Only one time in the history of mankind have two college running backs overlapped in their careers and both ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. That's Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas. They're both in this Hall of Fame, and I had the privilege of coaching them.
The people that are here are just unbelievably great athletes and great people as well. So for me to be included in that group, I love it.
There are few places one can visit and see firsthand what separates winners from everyone else. The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame is one of those places.
But it all came down to one thing, and it was hard work.
And to me, sports is the ultimate meritocracy. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how connected your family is.
You go to work, you learn that there's a price to be paid to be successful.
The only way to win is to work hard and dedicate yourself to a goal.
I mean, the benefits of being an athlete in the sport and learning the discipline, learning how to win and lose.
Hard work combined with passion for your sport, that's an unbeatable combination.
You went out and played the game for the love of it.
But I started as a catcher, and I saw the beauty of a hard fastball coming in there, singing in there, and the guy catching it and hitting the corners, and curveball over the corner, change of speed, and it was a beautiful thing.
It's always a great game, and I'll enjoy it until the last pitch.
Experience the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame and the pride it brings to our state.
I think, for when they first come through and they see Jim Thorpe and the success that he had, it's not just one sport in Oklahoma, it's every sport.
Sports has been a big part of why we take such pride in Oklahoma.
And find out there's so many famous people. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, football, wrestling, baseball.
We care because of the memories they gave us.
Well, it's humbling, of course, and the fact that, I've always been a fan, period. I'm a fan now. So to be able to be amidst all of, and I'm talking about the foundation of sports in the state of Oklahoma.
Hey, I'm from Oklahoma, and these are my people.
And for every name mentioned here, there are 10 more equally impressive athletes, coaches, champions, and legends whose stories live in the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame.
All of these people came from Oklahoma? How is that possible? And I think we owe it to the next generation to pass along these memories.
And you can actually walk in this facility and literally reach out and touch things and look at things and observe things.
I think when someone visits the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, they're going to be blown away by the number of great and familiar athletes that they see emblazoned in their memories.
It makes it real possible for the next person to be able to go, I can do this.
I remember in the first press conference, and people suggested, someday you're going to run out of people to enshrine. And I said, no, we won't. You watch.
When the athletes are turned out, it can serve as an inspiration, the possibility. If you can dream, go for it.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
TU fans, football season is here, and the Golden Hurricane has one of the best home schedules in school history. Season tickets are on sale now, or purchase our 3-game mini plan. The plan includes in-state rival Oklahoma State, along with Navy on Military Appreciation Game, and 2-time defending league champion UCF, all for only $90. To get your tickets, call 918-631-GO-TU or visit TulsaHurricane.com/tickets.
Back on Oklahoma Sports Scene, let's switch to the American Athletic Conference, the home of the University of Tulsa. They had their football media days, July 14th and 15th, up in Newport, Rhode Island, with a nice clam bake and great time there on the shore. They also had their media poll coach, and wasn't too kind again to the University of Tulsa. We look at the two polls, starting with the East Division.
You know, the East Division with Central Florida, of course, has been a preeminent the last 10 years. I mean, they really have been a football power. Cincinnati, South Florida, Temple, East Carolina, and UConn, and of course UConn is dropping out of the conference.
That's right.
So they'll be gone after this year.
West Division, Memphis, who played in the championship game last year, they're number 1 in the West. Then Houston, Tulane, SMU, Navy, and Tulsa for the second year in a row is picked last in the West, Coach.
You know, and I think they'll overachieve. I don't know how good they can be. They've gone through this recruiting process. I think Coach Montgomery understands what he needs to recruit to Tulsa. And I hope they can make it through this year and not get too banged up and be ready for the future. They have some good young players on their roster this year.
Tulsa coming off that 3-9 football season, though, and again, a lot of optimism for the TU camp right now. In fact, I want to remind you fans that the Golden Hurricane football kickoff luncheon is going to be set for August the 13th. It's at noon, a new location this year. It'll be at the River Spirit Casino, the Grand Ballroom there. So you TU football fans, get your blue and gold on and get out there and support the Golden Hurricane. Again, August the 13th, a Tuesday. Meanwhile, the players, Coach, they're reporting July 31st.
You know, it just seems like it gets earlier and earlier every year. Well, they said they're reporting July 31st. They've been there all summer.
That's right.
You know, they take summer class and go right on. And I think it was one of the great rules that the NCAA put in about 15 years ago, where the institutions could pay for summer school for their student athletes.
Yeah.
And so that way they can get ahead on their degree and they can take some of those courses during the summer without the pressure of the fall season on them. So they're there and they've been working out, I guarantee you, every day. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Tough opener. And then, you know, the follow up through the season, the AAC has really distinguished itself, I think, the last 2 or 3 years as being a quality football conference.
TU, again, opens practice on the 1st of August. Full pads coming up the first full day, August the 3rd. We're back to wrap things up here in Oklahoma Sports Scene. Stay with us.
Cheers.
All right, y'all, how's everything tasting?
That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
Hope you enjoyed our highlight show and a look back at some of the Big 12 football media days and some special features, including that outstanding piece with the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. You want to be sure and get down to Oklahoma City and take advantage of that. Coach, fun show starting off in August here with the Big O coming to visit us.
Big O is going to tell us about his new job at TU, selling those premium tickets, and about the TU season, I think. And, of course, we got high school football starting up August 12th. We've got a lot of things coming up.
August 7th, Jerry Ostrowski joins us on Oklahoma Sports Scene. We'll see you then.